Should an overweight person lift weights? A lot of people are under the impression that if you have a lot of weight to lose, you should focus first on losing all the weight and then tone up once you get there. Because of this, a lot of people spend time doing way more cardio than they need to. They don't look like they want to if or when they get to their goal. And by the time they get there, their metabolism is shot. So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of lifting versus doing cardio only when you have a lot of weight to lose. So if you're on a long haul fat loss journey, you're going to want to make sure that you stay tuned for this. And if you want to hear more about this subject, make sure that you are subscribed, hit the notification bell so that you're notified every Thursday when I come to you with information to help you to eat more and lose fat. So first of all, when it comes to doing cardio only for fat loss, the problem is that your body is going to adapt to cardio. So cardio kind of becomes a one-trick pony in that when you're doing cardio for weight loss specifically, or for anything specifically, like if you're in an endurance sport, your body wants to get more efficient at the exercise. So if you're an endurance runner, this is actually a good thing. Your body wants to learn how to burn less fuel doing the same thing. So your body is going to learn how to adapt so that you can go farther and farther on less energy. This is great when you are an endurance-based exerciser, when you are trying to shave off run times or something like that. But when it comes to fat loss, this can work against you. The more efficient that your body becomes with cardio, that means that you're actually doing the same exercises and burning less calories. Inefficiency is the name of the game when it comes to fat loss. So when you're only incorporating cardio, once your body adapts to it, you're gonna have to do a longer bout of cardio in order to get the same effect. You're gonna have to do more and more, either extending the time or the intensity of that exercise in order to get the same benefits of it. On the flip side, if you're incorporating some lifting, all you have to do is pick up a heavier weight. You can do the exact same amount of reps, but there are ways for you to intensify the movement by just lifting heavier, lifting slower, adding more resistance to the move, and things of that nature. So when it comes to lifting, especially if you have a periodized lifting plan, your body is going to adapt less, which means it can constantly change and continue to, it's gonna look for those adaptations, but in doing so, that is what's gonna help you to lose fat instead of you having to just keep extending the workout longer and longer and longer to get the same results. So if you're somebody who's only doing cardio for fat loss, then it might be of interest to you to add in some resistance training as well. Now, the other thing about doing cardio only is that when you're only doing cardio, you're pretty much gonna keep the exact same shape when you lose the weight. So if you're looking to kind of shape shift a little bit, you want to have some body recomposition, you want things to firm up and tighten up, instead of waiting until you get to your goal before you start, you can begin that right away. Because when you do cardio only for weight loss, that means that you're going to be left with all of the same lumps and bumps in all of the exact same areas that they currently are. With cardio only, you basically become a smaller version of whatever you already are. Not saying whatever you already are isn't amazing, but just so that you know, if you're actually looking to transform the shape of your body, that's where you want to incorporate some lifting, because that is where things are going to be a little bit more firm, and you can actually add curves in the places that you want them and maybe reduce them in the places that you don't want them so much, versus just losing weight and being the exact same silhouette that you already are. So that's something that you may want to take into consideration if you're only doing cardio and you're waiting until you get to your goal before you tone up. It's going to be a lot harder to tone up once you get there, because tone is muscle. So that's the third thing that I would consider, is that if you're waiting, you're missing out on some huge muscle benefits. And as we know, if you've watched any of my videos before, muscle equals metabolism. So every part of this journey is about either building or maintaining muscle mass. So if you're on a fat loss phase, then you're trying to maintain as much muscle mass as possible. If you're in a non-fat loss phase, then you're trying to build and add on as much muscle as possible so that your metabolism is higher during your fat loss phases, or so that your metabolism stays high when you're losing fat. If you go into your fat loss phase and you're only doing cardio, you're going to be focused more on weight loss than fat loss. When you're adding in lifting, that's actually going to help you to lose fat versus just losing weight. If you're losing weight at any cost, that is a more global term, which means that some of that weight could be muscle. No, no, no. We don't want to lose muscle at any cost. So lifting along the way helps you to preserve that muscle mass that you do have, which, like we said, your muscle is where any of that like tightening, toning, the curves that you're looking for is going to come from, but that's also where a big piece of your metabolism puzzle lies. So if you're losing muscle along the way, your metabolism is also slowing down as you lose, which means that as you start losing, it gets actually harder and harder for you to lose more because that metabolically active muscle is just not working the way that it used to. So you want to do everything in your power to keep that muscle mass nice and high. Now, the other thing about that is that when you are brand new to lifting, you also go through a phase of what is called newbie gains. And during the newbie gains period, even though most of the time, once you're out of this phase, you cannot build muscle and lose fat at the same time. But during the newbie gains period, you can actually do both. This is a huge benefit to an overweight lifter. So if someone is brand new to lifting and they have a lot of weight to lose, as they're getting started, not only are you going to preserve that muscle mass because you're lifting, you have an opportunity to actually build more even when you're in a fat loss phase. This is not going to be possible once you're past your first year or two of lifting. So I would soak it up while you can. So that is a huge benefit to lifting when you have a longer journey, because as you're losing, you could be building some muscle during that first year. And then after that, you're maintaining all of that beautiful muscle mass that you built. Things are tightening up and shape shifting nice and smoothly all along the way. And that's going to make for a much smoother journey than if you had waited until you've lost all of your muscle mass that from only doing cardio, have a slower metabolism, and then try to tone up, which you don't have much muscle to tone. And now you have a much slower metabolism. So things are so much harder. So that's the things that I would consider if you're wondering whether or not you should start lifting if you're overweight or have a lot of weight to lose. 100%, absolutely, I would say yes. You should start lifting right away and don't wait until you get to a certain size or wait until you look like people who lift before you start lifting, because that's not going to happen. You are not going to see those toned and defined muscles that you may want to see when you get to the end of your journey, or even if you don't actually want to see any muscle, you just want to look like a younger version of you. Any younger version of you had much more muscle, so that's something to take into consideration. Now, the last thing that I would say is that all of those things aside, when I'm saying to lift, I do mean lift heavy enough to let your body know that, hey, I want to build or maintain this muscle mass. But understand that heavy is relative to you. So a lot of times when we talk about heavy lifting, it can feel intimidating because you may see somebody else lifting heavy and think, there is no way that I can do that. But heavy is always going to be relative to you. So when you hear me or anyone else talk about lifting heavy, that is what we're meaning, is that, for instance, if you have 10 reps that are assigned to you and you can do the weight for 20 reps, that is not heavy. Heavy in that case would be a weight that you could not do more than 11, 12 reps with. Once you start being able to hit 13, 15, 16 reps with that weight, that is a sign for you to pick up a heavier weight for you, even though that weight may be heavy for somebody else or too light for somebody else. So just use that as your reference when you're trying to figure out what heavy is, as far as what someone is telling you to do, is as long as you can't do more than 2 reps beyond whatever the suggested amount is, then you're in the perfect heavy range for you. Muscle building is going to be right around in that 8 to 12 rep range territory. So if you're lifting weights that you can't lift more than 12 to 15 times, you're probably in a great heavy weight range for you. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter whatever heavy is for someone else. So hopefully you got a lot from that today. Let me know if you have other questions, if you have a longer journey and you're wondering more questions about exactly how you should lift or what phases you should lift or how you should be eating along the way. make sure that first you go ahead and get our quick start guide, because that's going to answer a lot of the questions as far as the eating goes. And check out my fat loss crash course for women if you are completely new to this channel and you have no idea how this whole thing works, because in that I'm going to tell you the 5 biggest mistakes that most women are making when it comes to fat loss and what you can do about it so that it's not so hard for you anymore. So thank you guys for joining. Make sure you like this video if this content was good for you as it was for me, and let me know if you have ideas for future topics that you want to hear about. I'll see you guys next Thursday.